Hello, good morning, everyone, once again. Thank you so much for joining Techy Friday today. If you can hear me loud and clear, kindly show by hand so that I'm sure that I've covered everyone. Can I see? Good. Thank you, Kwamna. Thank you, Ima. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Sylvester. Okay. So I believe that all of you can hear me loud and clear. So today, as we all know, our agenda for today is forms. Forms is one of the underrated productivity tools within your Microsoft 365 tool. It's actually a very brilliant tool that if you really know its benefit and how to use it, it takes away a lot of stress and it improves work significantly and also brings a lot of efficiency within the way you do some of these things. So you can use forms for quick surveys, for feedback, even for market analysis and all that. I wouldn't take the wind out of the sail of the presenter. Today, who we have for to do justice to this is Miss Irabna Dayton, and she's head of our business intelligence unit. I would hand over to her in a minute for her to take over. So, Irabna, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tete. So I would quickly share my screen. Kindly show by hand if you can see my screen. Okay. So for today, as Mr. Tete has already mentioned, we'll be looking at Microsoft Forms. We shared this the outline with you earlier, just so you have a fair idea of what we'll be doing today. So we will be looking at creating a survey, and in the process, look at the different types of questions you could create within Microsoft Forms. Then we'll look at a quiz, which is has similar features to the survey, but in this case, you can add some additional things like adding scores, to the various questions and then indicate which one is right and all that. And then we'd look at how to manage the various surveys and quizzes. So from copying, editing, or deleting a question to changing the order, adding branches, sharing the forms with users. And then we would also look at having sent your forms out and people filled it, how do you analyze the various results that you received? So without wasting much time, I would quickly move to the forms interface. So this is the landing page when you open up Microsoft Forms. As Mr. Tete initially indicated or earlier indicated, you could use it for surveys. So from your marketing survey to a customer satisfaction survey. In some cases, let's say even for the quiz, you could use it for some aptitude tests during your employment process as well. So without wasting much time, we would look at the interface. So on the landing page, you can see the new form option. you can drop down to see the option to create a quiz if you are not creating. So in this particular case, the new form will be the survey that you'll be creating. The new quiz is creating a quiz. You have the recent tab here for all recent forms you've created. I haven't created any yet, which is why this place is blank. But if you had a lot of them, you would see it all lined up here. You could pin specific forms up. So there are some, maybe you have so many forms that you have created. You could pin some that you would probably use frequently, so you don't have to scan through all the forms to find them. And then you have every form that is shared with you would also be under this shared with me section. You have the search box here to filter through the various forms that you have. You could change the type of view you are seeing for the forms that you have created. Now, another interesting thing, or an interesting thing, is that you can create a form for a specific group. So if, let's say, for the marketing department, there are some specific questionnaires or some specific surveys you send out, or some specific surveys you send out to various people, instead of creating one person creating the form just to sit in their area, you could create it within your marketing group. In that case, everybody within that marketing group has access to that form that you've created and can share it. So you don't have cases of, okay, this person is not around, and so other people in the marketing department don't have access to that form to share it. So you could create a form within the context of a group, in which case all the members in the group have it. Now you have the All My Forms section here, which when you click, opens or gives you a more broad view of all the kind of the forms you have. Of course, I haven't created any yet, which is why you see nothing here. But over here, you can see that there's an option to create a collection. So you could group the various forms that you have into specific groups, in which case it's easier to find them, it's organized, and then people can easily have access to them. So I know that if I want all forms relating to HR, I come to the HR collection. If I want forms relating to marketing, I can come to that marketing collection there. So you click the new collection, you have the option to enter the collection name, and then you create that. So I would move straight to creating a new form. So when you click the new form button, this form is opened up for you. There's nothing here as at now, it's blank. So for the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to be creating a customer satisfaction survey form. So I come here and then I can enter the title of my form. And then I can enter a description for the form I'm creating. So this is for the title of the form. Now you see that when you create anything, or as you type in, it's automatically saved for you. So you don't have cases where you didn't save something. It's automatically saved. Now over here, I come to adding my questions. So I click the add new option that I see here. And then I have the various options for the type of question that I want to create. Now there's an additional feature which is even suggesting some questions for you. So if any of the suggested questions fall in line with the kind of question you want to ask, you can easily click any of them and then it will just put that over there for you. So let's say for the first So for the questions I want to create, I want to section them or group them under various sections. So I have the option here to create a section. And so for this section, let's say I want to find out about the kind of people who are answering my survey, their age, maybe level of education. So I have created this section. So you can see the section 1 here. And then I can now start adding the questions that I want to create. So for the first one, I'm creating a question that is going to allow people to choose from the options that I have. So let's see. Okay, so I have how old. Okay, so then I have my options here to select, to add various options. Let me for a moment, let me get this. Okay, so I want to do, let's say, between 15, 20. And then I want to do the second option, let's say between 1 to 35. And then I could add more options to the question that I am asking. So for this, people can only choose, let's say, one of the options that I have. So that's the radio button. And then if I want to make this question a required question, in which case people are expected to answer before they move on to the next question, I will just select the required option that I see over here. Select the required option that I see over here. So I want to add another question for this section. And then I want to also maybe, let's say, add another choice question for now. So let's see, level of education. And then I have maybe basic. Then I have I want to add another option. So I don't want this question to be required, so I have unticked this option. So these are all the questions I want to put in this first section, the demographics section. So I want to add another section. I come back here, select the section option. And then maybe for this is where I'm going to ask about maybe the product usage, questions, and then satisfaction. Okay. So I can add the various questions that I want under this point as well. So for this area, let's say I want to ask how long they have been using that. I think we've had a few of the choice questions, but I want to ask, for instance, maybe which social media platforms that users prefer. So that's also a choice, but unlike the first one where we have only the option to select just one option, this I want to give people the opportunity to select more than one option. So I have here I have Twitter. So it's even suggesting the other options for me. I can just pick them. But like I mentioned, I want people to be able to choose more than one answer. So I have the option here to select multiple answers. Okay, so I select the multiple answers and then it sees changed that for me to the checkbox so they can select from various options. And then I want to have a case where, depending on the kind of answer that a user selects, it makes available some other kind of question. So I come here. So I have maybe the yes option and then a no. And then I want to say that, so for this, we call that branching. So I can come to the specific question. I select the ellipsis button that I see with respect to that question, and I say to add some branching. So if I come to this option, maybe if I select yes, it's supposed to move to the next question. But then if I select no, probably end the form. Okay, so I come back and I've added that branching for now. So I go back and then I add the next question. Let me say a text question this time around. So I'm asking the person maybe which feature they would like to suggest. And then I have the option here to maybe request for some short answer. Maybe I want the person to be able to type a lot of things in there. Then I'll select that long answer for that particular option. So this is just a few types of the questions that you have available. A few types of the question that you have available to you. But of course, there are so many other question types that we see here. So you could have a rating. So you want users to maybe rate your services on some scale. So maybe rate services. You could have that in here. And then you have the various levels. If you want to be able to select more than just 5 stars, probably you want the scale to be on a scale of 1 to 10, for instance. You can select that. You could change the stars to a number. You have various options on the kind of questions. As I mentioned, you can even have a question that requires that a person enters a date. You have a like it, in which case there are various lists of questions. There could be a file upload and then a net promoter score. So all these are various kinds of questions you can create. So let's say for this, I want to make this also required so that the person has to answer that question. Now, as part of the various questions that I have put here, maybe I want to rearrange the question, the order of questions. So if you can see close to at the top of the question, you can see the move question up. Because this is the last question, this move question down is grayed out, but you can easily rearrange the order of the question. So this has become question 5. Maybe I want to move it up. So now this is my question 3. So my rate question has now become my question 3. And then we have the other options here to select from. Okay, so in cases where you have similar questions, instead of going through the option of adding new questions all the time, you could easily just copy a question and then it duplicates that question for you, and then you can easily change the content or the question that you had put there. So you don't necessarily have to go through the add new option all the time. Okay, so having created these questions, now I want to see how they look like or how they would look like to a user. So I can come to the preview option here. When I click the preview option here, you can see this is how a user would see the questions that I have created. Now, since I created the question in sections, you see the option here. The first section you can see here, I click next, and then you can see the next set of questions that I put under this section. Okay. So I'm required to fill this before, since I made this a required field, I need to fill it before I can move on to the next slide. So this gives me an idea of how the person is going to see it. And then you can click the mobile option here. to see how it would look like to a user who decides to fill it on the phone. Okay, so I go back here. Now I have the option here to change how the whole look of the form that I have created. So you can come to the theme here, and over here there are a few ideas that are even being suggested to me. I can choose from any of them. Let's say this one, for instance, and then it uses that theme for the form that I just created. So you have the option here to change the theme of the questions of the form that you just created. So having created the form, now I want to share this form with various users or with respondents who would see these questions. So I have three different options here. So if I choose the anyone can respond option, as far as anyone has the link the link to the form, they can answer the question. So this will be useful in cases where you have for the customer satisfaction survey, for instance, or for any kind of survey which requires responses from varied people who are not necessarily in your organization. Or you could probably have, as I mentioned, you could use the quiz option to create some aptitude tests, in which case the users who are coming to fill up or answer the test questions do not necessarily have accounts in your organization. So you can share this link. You can choose the anyone can respond link, and then you can copy and then share, paste this within an email or paste it even in WhatsApp or any message platform and share with people to be able to answer. Now the URL in it comes in a long form, so you could shorten it so that at the it's shorter for to be able to share it. Now for the purposes of this, let me share. Let me copy this and then just paste in here. Or let me have okay. So okay. I can paste it in here just so you have just a quick feel of it, just so you can try it. Just have a look at how it will look like from your end. But in the meantime, let me also share this with some of my colleagues so that they would also try their hands out. So please, you can try, you can just open up the form and then share it in the chat area and then try your hands on it. Now, when it comes to the option where only people in my organization can respond, in that case, they would need to have logged in to be able to respond. And then it would also keep track of whoever is responding to what. So in this particular case, you could use that for maybe there is some item, maybe something as simple as maybe sending some list around for people to order lunch, or you have branded some custom t-shirts within the organization, you want to know which one people want. So even something as simple as that, you could use this and then you share with people in your organization and then they can respond to it. Or if you are doing this form for specific people within the organization, so it's you have some questions being sent to just management to respond to, or you have some specific questions for some specific group of people within the organization or department, then you have the option to select specific people in my organization can respond. And in that case, you would have those, you would input the email addresses of those people and then they will do that. Okay, so just for the purpose of this, let me just quickly switch it this way. So you see that you can see the option here to enter the name or a group or email addresses of the people you want to share it with. So if I wanted to share, let's say with okay, and then I can share that with specific people. Okay, but for the purpose so that you can also respond to it, let me still leave it. Okay, so even within the sharing option, this is the option just to share it as a link. You have other options to use a QR code. So this you can even incorporate with our services. Maybe in developing apps, we've incorporated something of this sort within some of the apps that are created. So in cases where you have the QR code function, you see this is attached to a specific form. So you share this particular QR code, and then people can scan and access the form and then fill in the various questions. You also have the embed option. So you have your website and then you want to put this form within the website so that people easily have access to it, as opposed to you sharing links over and over. So you put that within your website, and then you can have people can easily access it from there. You also have the email option, in which case when I click, it automatically opens up my default email and then has the link in there straight away for me to be able to share with the recipients I want to share the form with. So you can share this as a template for other people to use to create their own surveys. So I can copy the link and share with people, or you can share to collaborate with other people on this. So in cases, as when I started, I mentioned that you could create the form within a group, in which case all the people in the group have access to it. So in case you didn't create it within a group and you still want to collaborate with other people on the form, you can easily come to the share to collaborate option, as you can see here. You select whoever you want to be able to edit it. So if you want just people in your organization, if it's any other external person, as far as they have some Office 365 account, or you have specific people to share and you want to share it with so they can also edit it, you can select that option as well. Okay, so this covers the sharing area. So I will move to, I think a number of you have filled the form at the moment. So we'll move to the responses section. And then we can see here, one good thing about forms is it comes with inbuilt analytics. Okay, so it gives you some basic analytics of the kind of the form or the responses to the form that you sent out. So you can see here, it's giving me the total number of responses, the average time it took, whether this is still an active form or not. And I think we'll come back to this active status when we look at more of the settings aspect. So I can see the results. So for each question, I can roughly see the charts giving me the analytics of the various people who have filled the form. So out of the 9 that filled it, I can see that 7 are between the ages of 21 and 35, 2 in this other in the other option that I made available. I can see the various level of education. So this is just giving me basic analytics for the various responses that I have received. Okay, so for each question, I can see this. Then if I want to be able to view the specific responses that I got from various people, I can open this up and then I can scroll through to see for each of the users the responses that was given. Now, because I shared this for anyone at all to be able to respond to, I can see that the respondents is just anonymous over here. But in cases where I shared, let's say within my organization, in which case people had to have logged in, I would see that the person's name has been indicated over here, that, okay, this response came from this person. Of course, when it comes to, let's say, for an aptitude test, for instance, and you need to see people's names, you can easily add the option to, or a text field to ask for the person's name to see who answered the question. So you can scroll through here and then you see the various respondents, the responses from the various respondents. Okay. Now, another option you have here if there's more you want to see from this, from everything, from the responses that were given, you can easily open this in Excel. So if you open this file in Excel, it downloads the responses that you just received. Let me open this up just so you have a look at it. And then you can see the various details or the responses that you received. So this is even adding extra information when they started, when they ended. If there was within an organization and people had to sign in, then you would see their email and their name. Then you can see the various responses that you received from your respondents. Okay, so this you can do more. There's more that you want to do with this detail that you are seeing, then you can do that with it. So this just gives you a brief look at the analytics area for the form that you created. Okay. So if there's more options here, if we come to the ellipsis we see at the top here, we have the settings option here. Okay. So as at now, if we didn't pick the sharing option from this share button here where we had the three options, we could easily come to this settings area and then select the people we wanted to be able to respond to the question. Now, other options or other restrictions we could have put on it, we see here you could set a start and end date for the question that you, or for the survey that you sent out. So you come to the start date, and then I can start when I want people to do that. So this could be used, for instance, when it comes to some registration for an event, or even with the quizzes that you have. Maybe you have some period within which you want people to be able to answer the questions. In that case, you can set a start date, and then you can set some end dates for the question, in which case the form will no longer be available for anybody to answer any questions. Now there is a progress bar. You could check the show progress bar option so that people would see how it's the progress as they answer the questions, where they have reached in those various questions. And then you can also customize a thank you message you send to people. So let me please. So when you select this option, by default, you have that your response was submitted over there. So maybe I could change it. There is more I want to put there. So from you. And then maybe I want to add some websites that I have there. Let me just put some fancy website there for now. Then maybe I have my social media handles. I just want to add them as well so that when people fill this form, so let me quickly copy this. Let me just let you have an idea. So if I fill in this form, for instance, now since I set so I can see here that the customized thank you response that I put here is what is showing now. So this is what will be available to users, for users to see. So still within the settings option, then you have the option here to select. If you want to receive some notification for each response that is sent in, you can do that. Or if you want to allow receipt of responses after submission, you can select that option as well. The good thing about forms, it also gives you the opportunity to set questions in different languages. So if the respondents you are aiming at come from all over, and so you want to be able to create forms for the different people who will be answering it, you can easily add some additional language. in which case you would just edit the form. You click the edit option, and then you can just translate the various questions or the various things you put there. In that case, when that form goes to someone else who understands that language, they can see the form in that other language that you have there. Okay, so I think that basically covers the forms. I don't know if there's anything, any questions from anyone that needs to be answered. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Irabna, for doing justice to this all-important productivity tool. As I mentioned in my introduction, is rather very underrated, but having knowledge about forms makes your work very easy. If you're a front desk personnel, instead of picking a sheet and going table to table asking people what lunch they will take, you can easily create a form and share. So thank you, Irabna, so much. And at this juncture, we'll take questions. Please show by hand and put your question, and we'll have Irabna respond. And if Ben has any use case to also share beyond what Irabna has done, he can also come in at a point. So we are taking your questions now. If necessarily it's not a question, but you looking at the presentation, you have an idea as to how to use it, whether within the department, and you are not sure how it will play, we are also happy to get the scenario and shape the conversation with you.
Okay, so I'll just add, okay, I think there's a question. Let's pick it rather. Alfred. I think the coordinator. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I wanted to ask a question about timed surveys. So we tried to do a time survey. What we wanted to do, the idea behind that was we give the option to people to go onto the link for the form, and once they're on the link, whatever time that they started, that is how the timer should run for maybe 30 minutes, and then it shouldn't be available to them anymore. Unfortunately, it seemed like for time service, it only ran at a particular time for everyone. So assuming we said we were trying to set it up for 30 participants and it should last 30 minutes, they would all have to be online at the same time. If it's starting at 9:30 this morning, it should be from 9:30 to 10. Somebody couldn't log on at 11 o'clock and just have that 30-minute window to do the survey. Is that how it is, or we missed something? And is it something that can be maybe Microsoft is working on, or I don't know? Hello?
Okay, thank you very much, Alfred, for the question.
All right.
Irabna, are you taking it?
Hello.
Yeah, Irabna, we can
Did
hear you.
you get my question?
Hello. Please, if I heard you properly, you were asking if you could time the questions.
Yes, time them, but not just a common time for everyone. We wanted it such that if somebody comes on at 9, then that person is timed for 30 minutes. If somebody comes on at 11, that person is also timed for 30 minutes.
Okay, so at this point, I think you could just set, I'm not sure you could have that
Okay.
fluid nature with that. So what you can do is just set the general start date and time for the form for everyone. So if it's something that's supposed to be done on a specific day from 11 to 11:30, that is what would apply for everyone. So you can't dynamically have it, okay, so for this particular person, if the person started at this time, then it should end at this time, no. Unless, of course, you come back to activate that, you come back to activate the form for the different people who would need to access it.
Now, let me check with the Carl. Do we have it in the education one? I think what he's trying to look at is something like more like a quiz, but in this time it's more like the CBT. So maybe you want to set something like an exams or something like a quiz, but it is unique to you. The time that you come is the time your timing starts. Carl, are you around? Is the education version, does it have that one or does it have something like that?
No. So the education one doesn't have that option.
Okay, so just for the technical response of it, Mr. Pra, what you could do that unless you put power apps on that, you kind of develop a small routine where you put it in such a way that it kind of check the person's availability and clock it out. That you just have to put a layer of power apps on it or some few code. So by default, it doesn't have it. Within the Microsoft 365 group family, there is Power Platform. I think it's not something we've done here, but it's because that is a development platform for Microsoft for some of these advanced things to be done on top of it. So yeah, that is if we want to take it as a stretch. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a rabbit.
I think Sylvester, my Power Apps guru is here, so maybe you want to speak to that. Power Apps, Nyami.
Yeah, like the way you said, it's very possible. We can put an app and we spin it from the app. We just add some few code and it can be done. But it's not out of the box ready, but we can do something using Power Apps. I wanted to tackle Emma's second question. She was saying, is it possible to create a series of forms that get sent at a particular time of day over a period of time? Okay, so it's not really, the feature is not there, but what you can do is you can set a start time, and with the help of Power Automate, we can send a link when the time you decide to send it out is ready. So we can create a form that we say, okay, the form will start receiving response maybe at 1 p.m. today, but form will not go ahead and send out the link for people at the 1 p.m. But we can use Power Automate to send out the link or maybe the QR code in that effect. So I don't know if that answers your question, Irma.
Okay, and just to add a bit to Alfred's question, I think forms, because it's used for quizzes and surveys, the expectation of the one who is coordinating it is to have certain responses within a specific time frame. And I believe that maybe that is why in the version we have now, we don't have the flexibility to have people respond at various at that time, because then it defeats the original purpose for using it as a survey and basically using it as a feedback. But like Sylvester rightly said, with a few codes with Power Automate, it can be done. Then it becomes something like a mini app for a specific task, which also helps improves efficiency and productivity as well. Area?
Yeah, so before Era come in, so on the side of the what Emma is asking, hers is quite simple, it's straightforward, that doesn't require much code. Power Automate is within, so like Sylvester said, you create the various forms, and then each of the form, you kind of open it for availability within the space you want to collect the feedback. And then you then use Power Automate to pick them when the time is up. So yours is quite straightforward. What Alfred is asking for is more like doing a CBT, a computer-based test system where people come online and then see. So that one will require a bit of code just to differentiate the two. But what we're trying to do, just as the training is, what we are trying to do here is to bring to light to you what tools are within the investment you've made in the Microsoft 365. So within the same investment of you having the 365, having this form is the tools we are talking about. So both the Power Automate and Power Apps we are talking about are already there. The only thing that is left is the skill to add it. And you will see it in the advert you've been playing, how much we have done in terms of the Power Apps, the Power Automate, the forms. We have been able to use these individual solutions to do very powerful apps, including leave management, visitor log. I think some of our clients here are using it. A few of them, appraisals. Even now, we have built a very complicated queue management system with it and all that. And that is how far the solution will be able to go, from the very simple individual usage to combination of using forms and Power Automate to send links as you want, or using forms and now Power Platform to do quizzes as Alfred want, or other more sophisticated or even more simple things. Yeah. So if there's any more question.
Okay, so thank you all very much. This happens to be our last Techy Friday for the year, and we'll take this opportunity to wish you a Merry Christmas in advance. And I would also send a summary for all this, and also state the business use cases, and hope you would employ them to work more efficiently within your organization. Again, like Ben rightly mentioned, we are able to harness several of these productivity tools, starting from the form, the Power Automate, the Power BI, and all these within your Microsoft 365 to bring very useful apps which automates your processes, makes you work much more efficiently, and we are happy to guide you through the process, or as it were, discuss whatever problem you have and see what specific solutions we could create for you. Thank you so much for joining today's Friday.
Edmond, maybe Edmond, before you, because since we have about 2 minutes, let me just use it for a broad discussion. Now, I'll let you wrap up. So for a broader discussion on the Microsoft 365 and for discussion beyond this, what we are marketing and what we are bringing to light to customers around the country and around is that this solution will be able to help you even meet some of your ISO 27000 requirement in terms of automation. Now, typically, when any organization wants to digitize, it would have started from the infrastructure where you buy machines, where you buy data centers, you do your network, you go and get identity system, and you start building servers and applications. And on top of it, you then come and automate business processes. Then from there, you come and put BI and analytics. Now, within the Microsoft 365 investment you have made, all this can be done. I mean, beyond the fact that you have your laptop and your disk and your network, your identity system, which is a requirement of ISO 27000, is taken care of by Microsoft because of the Azure AD. And this is a broad conversation I'm having on a very high level as a takeaway as we move into digitization. And I understand the budget for next year is about digitalization. And it's going to become more interesting for every organization to see how they can digitize their solution. So your investment in Microsoft 365 is not just to be sending emails and just these. Now, beyond the identity system, you are also able to go into the business process, the applications, which we call the productivity tools, which are the emails and the individual app we've shown you so far. Beyond that, you are able to run things like the document management system, which is in SharePoint. We've demoed that, where all your documents, including your retention policies, including your security policies, and all those stuff are put in it, so you don't need to worry about information leakage, which is also an ISO 27000 requirement. You also move from that to automate business processes, which is something we've invested into to build almost about 20, 25 applications to automate business processes, as I mentioned, from leave application, management, petty cash, and all those, so that people can work digital and smooth without necessarily stepping in the office. Beyond that, we are looking into things like the BI, where it's where with Power BI, where you are now collecting business intelligence, analyzing it, and using it to forecast. Now, it may also interest you to know that if you have unique servers or local servers that you have unique application on, Microsoft have a solution called the Microsoft Azure, which is AZURE, or Azure, which will then also carry all your servers into the cloud. So what we are trying to say is that within the ecosystem of the Microsoft solutions, where we build a lot of capacity, you can do your digitalization without having a complex data center. Now, the technology that used to be exclusive to the big Fortune 500 companies are available. And if you talk to us, we'll be able to guide you with your digitalization and bring you to the point where you are really ready to digitize all your processes. Like I said, this is beyond the scope of this training, but just let you know how far these things are. And if you need any technology within the Microsoft suite, talk to us. We'll tell you what it is. I mean, we've offered this training for free. That should tell you our engagement. And those of our customers who are here know it. We are committed to you. We are interested in supporting your business. We are looking for money, of course, in business in terms of it, but we understand that we can only survive when you are making meaningful gains out of your investment, not just buying license, where every now and then we send you email and then you buy a license or you do. That is not the conversation. How do we make these tools work for you? How does it bring some bottom line and increase it and make it work for you? The more you get, the more you become efficient, the more successful we become. So we are open, we are willing to engage you, and we are willing to support your business as we enter into 2022 to do more digitalization. If government is doing it, then we can also do it. We don't want to wait for government to digitalize and then we are manual. So that's about it on me on the technical side. Edmond, I think you can now wrap it up. If there is any question, you can let us have it beyond here. All the recordings have been available on our social media pages. Get there, like it, recommend somebody, make us a bit popular, maybe for a little favor from you as well. And then let's see how we build this ecosystem together and make it work for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. I'll actually end the session on your final comments. I want duplicate effort on this. Thank you all for joining today's session, and we'll meet again next year. I don't know whether the session next year will be just around this time, maybe the second half, but at our strategic meeting, we'll have a conversation on it and we'll communicate to your coordinators within the organization. Thank you so much for joining today, and it's bye for now. Exactly at 11.